Around this time last year, things were so much different, and the poem I read out was negative. Over the course of the year, being a part of the PTC has given me so much confidence. I never thought I could write anything upbeat, but for the first time, I feel that happy emotion, and I was able to write something positive. We are a part of the Community Inspirers, the PTC. What an amazing experience, I think we all can agree. My whole life I never imagined I would be on the news, the BBC. I tell you what though, the amount we drunk in coffee and tea, causing endless trips to the toilet, needed a pee. Returning back to resume our positions in guiding others to see what we see. But on a serious note, there was no other place I would rather be, as everybody simply accepted me for me. This time last year, it had only just begun. Although very serious, I didn't realise it would be this much fun. I felt I was part of something massive, even when the weight of the world felt like a ton. A wonderful bunch of people were there to see me when I won. Okay, so then we had a new member of the PTC, Baby, to join the crew. Everyone accepted him and enjoyed a cuddle and coo. He became a part of the meetings. He was involved in the process too. He even enjoyed his first trip to the zoo. Finally, it's only took me months to think of what to write, to turn my negatives into something bright. All these people were a spark to my light. I shall be sad to see this come to an end. But one thing for sure, we all made a friend. So to all I met on the way and those in need, love, light and peace I send. And then Cameron was supposed to be with us, but he's asleep, so we're just leaving him. But I am proud and honoured to say I was given a chance to be stood here today with my son. It shows that with determination and passion you can work with the system. Now I'd like to welcome onto stage the leader of the council, Sam Dixon.
I am really humbled to have been asked to speak today and to join the voices of our inspirers and our community, business and faith leaders. One of the very first things that we did when I became the leader of Cheshire West and Chester Council in 2015 was to find an effective way of listening to our residents and finding out what was most important to them. At that time, some areas of our borough were recording rates of child poverty at above 40%. That's more than 1 in 3 children. For every 20 people who walked into a food bank, 12 were single, and 9 of those were men. And 23% of our residents were experiencing in-work poverty. These issues were reiterated throughout the course of the consultation that we conducted. Personally, I am fundamentally committed to tackling inequality and poverty because it harms all of us. It's why I'm in politics. What followed from our consultation and the findings that we had was that as a priority for our council we were going to establish this commission, and I am extremely proud of everything that it's achieved so far. Bringing about meaningful and lasting change in an area as complex as this takes time, and our PTC has only been working together for 12 months, but we've already seen significant progress and heard about it through the course of today. From the way that organisations interact with people, to the way that services are now designed around the needs of those who use them. But progress isn't progress unless it makes a positive, tangible difference to people's lives. It's not enough to just go through a process and to change the way we work or redesign services. If nothing else changes at the end of it, it has to have an impact. It has to have outcomes that improve the lives of our residents. And I'd like to take a minute before they're presented with their well-deserved certificates to pay tribute to these remarkable people, our community inspirers. Many of these stories will be known to you, but they really help us to understand the difference that the PCT continues to make. Adira was a victim of a forced marriage at 13 years of age, who was understandably and inevitably struggling with the emotional impact that created. She's now in paid work, organised around the needs of her young son, and she was recently able to visit her family in Bangladesh for the first time in 10 years. Michael, who has overcome issues in his own life to offer invaluable voluntary support to young adults with disabilities and at a mental health support group, he's also played an important part in a commissioners' gathering in Leeds and has been a constant source of knowledge and advice both for the PCT team and his fellow inspirers. Barbara's real-life I. Daniel Blake story had a profound impact on everyone involved in the Poverty Truth Commission, but she's used it to motivate herself and others, working tirelessly to support the issues closest to her heart and becoming a maternal figure for many of her staff. Chris battles with mental health every day and has given the Commission real insight into what life is like for someone with an enduring illness. It's wonderful news that he's now helping to establish a mental health support group in Northwich, which will make such a difference to him and many others in a similar situation. When Karla joined the PCT, she was very quiet, and like many people can be, was not inclined to trust people in authority. It's great to see her in a much better place, and as we've just seen, she has a real talent for poetry. The team met Lisa when she was living in refuge. She experienced abuse for most of her life, and it still affects her life to this day, as it does for countless other people. Her development over the last 12 months through the mental health group and several local reading groups has been absolutely fantastic. Gary, to begin with, was only coming along to support Cindy, but has been as much a part of this as all of the other inspirers. Cindy has also been an inspiration to everyone here, helping us to understand the challenges that people with disabilities face on a daily basis. Poverty can be extremely isolating, but both Gary and Cindy are now regular visitors, as we've seen, to the Ellesmere Port Sports Village, which is a real positive step for both of them. Shirley was part of the PCT right from the start, before the team was even appointed. She struggled with in-work poverty for most of her life and was out of work after a long-term illness. But Shirley is now back in work, doing a job she loves, and it was great to hear from her earlier about how this experience has been from her perspective. Chrissy has been a positive member of the PCT from the start. She's shared her story, as Kelly has, to help shape and influence services for the benefit of those in a similar situation. She's been hugely supportive, enjoys helping others, and will no doubt make a huge success of her role at Turning Point as a volunteer advocate. Throughout this commission and the public consultation that preceded it, frustration with the system, voicelessness, and a sense of being belittled are feelings that were expressed by many people affected by poverty, including Swampy. In the year since, he's shown his complete commitment to the Poverty Truth Commission and seeing how things work from the other side of the system. He's also become very accustomed to public speaking after co-hosting the launch event, and as you've seen, presenting at the House of Commons and making such a wonderful contribution today. And Alison offered her brave story back in February last year, on stage again today with renewed confidence and self-belief. Alison, I'm pleased to say, is now Vice Chair of the Tenants Committee at Weaver Vale Housing Trust and is being supported to complete her Maths and English GCSEs whilst also learning to drive. Every story and the person behind it is an inspiration to so many people. Illustrations of character, of dignity, of aspiration and hope. And it's a humbling experience for me to hear everyone's story. They also show what we can achieve when we work together. You can't make an effective decision that solves a problem unless you truly understand the problem. And the success of this Poverty Truth Commission owes everything to people working together to do exactly that. I need to offer my thanks to everyone who's been involved with it, our staff, our partners, and our residents for their collective commitment. But in particular, I want to thank David Briggs for his commitment to the process as well. I think David's been on his own journey, as all of the Inspirers have too. And I think we need to recognise the commitment, the personal commitment that David has shown to the PTC. I want to thank everyone for their honesty during this process. This work would not have had the impact that it has had without that honesty. As I said at the start, tackling poverty and reducing inequality is a priority for this council. And there is a detailed action plan behind that commitment that sets out the work that we've done and sets out my authority's ongoing commitments to reducing those issues. I am extremely pleased to be able to announce that funding for a second commission has been approved. We're absolutely determined to help every single resident of Cheshire West and Chester fulfil their potential, to see the whole of our borough thrive. And I'm convinced that the opportunity we now have to continue the work of this Poverty Truth Commission is one that will make a significant, positive difference to everyone's lives. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I'll now hand over to the Lord Lieutenant David Briggs for our presentation, and I'd like to invite our Inspirers to the stage.
Just before I present these very well-deserved certificates, each of which comes from Edgehill University, you should all know that these are exactly the same certificates which you get if you get a degree from the university. These are not duplicable bits of paper. So these are true recognition of the real contribution that these wonderful people have made to our community. Thank you all. You have really made a difference. Thank you very much.